Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thank you for joining us. When it comes to the prepping community, unfortunately, I find there's a huge group that are actually classified as defeatist. A defeatist is simply someone who believes that I can't do anything about it, things are going to collapse, I'm going to die. And unfortunately, it's that mental attitude that will kill you. And stick to the video because I want you to see this point. Unfortunately, major wars do happen. I'm not saying they're not orchestrated, they often are. But the unfortunate part is civilians die too. Do you understand in World War II, upwards of 38 million civilians died. And many of those civilians died from famine, simply not having enough food. I mean, that alone right there should tell you that being a prepper should put you into the category of you should not be a defeatist. But even like the fact that we actually do prep and set goals and stuff actually has a chemical balance which releases dopamine, which gives you a feeling of being more satisfied. And I think that because they are defeatist, they prep, it makes them kind of like feel a little bit happier that, oh, you know what, I'm doing what I need to. But when we actually make decisions about prepping especially, we should really do it without any emotions at all. Because the emotions often are not based on even being satisfied or feeling like I'm prepping like I should. It's actually based on fear. Everything put out by the government, practically speaking, is about fear. Fear of all the situations happening. Mainstream media pushes this fear, especially when we talk about wars, when we talk about power grids and everything. And unfortunately, the prepping channels and everybody else in the prepping community falls right along with this. Don't focus on the bad parts. Don't focus on, oh, you know what? We may have a power grid or a nuclear detonation. Don't focus on that. Prepare for it. Do what you need to do to prepare for those things, but always focus on, I'm going to be the one that's going to survive this. Have that positive mental attitude. And it's interesting because FDR, during the Great Depression, had his famous speech, his line during his inauguration that said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And he's absolutely right about that. That's all we have to fear. Fear is something that's going to conjure up all kinds of stresses in your life and actually cause problems. You need to do away with that. Because here's the interesting part, what a lot of people don't think. They're like, what a great speech. His intentions were not great at all. I don't know if you know it, but his very next lines in that address was about how, you know what? Because we have this fear, I don't want you to have a fear of government, because his next moves were sweeping changes, making it so the government actually had far more control. That's one of the reasons why I think the Depression happened. Because I don't look at it as being happened, I look at it as being orchestrated. They did this and controlled this and organized this to make it so the government would actually have more control over us. That was the point of the Depression. And they did too. The New Deal, man, all the things they put through were all about control, taking away our freedoms, taking away our rights. And so as we see more things happening now, we see this war conjuring up between Russia and Ukraine, aka NATO and the United States. We're looking at China and Taiwan and BRICS. And not to mention, economically speaking, our banks are failing. And we're seeing shortages in the supermarkets. We're seeing prices, inflation. The list goes on, doesn't it? Even these debt talks that we're just basically going through are all about, you know what? Why couldn't they work this out a year ago? Because they want to make it look like it comes to the very end to initiate and instigate fear. Do not give into this fear, because the bureaucrats, I don't care which side of the aisle you lay on. I think most of us don't lay on either side of the aisle. We can't stand either way as far as the system goes. But the whole thing is about fear. It's all about trying to get you to worry about all these things, saying, government, please take control. Please handle the situation because I can't do it myself. You need to step outside of their box, not give in to the emotions, not give in to the fear, and actually have optimism. In our family, we do two things. We live life like it's going to continue tomorrow, which it will. My girls go to college. We work on fixing up the house. We have goals. We continue on in martial arts. All these things that we actually have in life. It's not about sitting back and saying, oh my gosh, I need to stockpile more food and water because all this is going to come down on me and I'm not going to survive. That's not the right attitude. You should still stockpile the food and water. You should stockpile all those things you need to actually have in your basement, in your field, whatever you want to do with it. Take care of your stockpiles. Prepare. But you need to live your life. You need to continue. You need to have goals. You need to press on. That's what we do. And it's not even just what we do as far as in this house, but it's what we do as mankind. We don't let adversity get in the way, even if that adversity happens to be your government. Even if the adversity happens to be some kind of elites trying to push these things. Because what they're trying to push is fear to give them more control. Because the only thing they want is more power. But they forget that this government, not even just the United States, but other governments too, are set up as we, the people. We're the ones in charge, not them. So we need to continue to prep, have the right mindset, work together, work as a community. Don't let them divide us. And I know this is more of a motivational video, but this has to be said because they want nothing but fear. Do not give into that fear. Don't give into any emotions except for setting goals in your life and trying to do things to try to better yourself, your family, your community. Still stockpile, still prepare, have all those things ready because remember, 38 million people died in World War II, civilians, mind you. And if you're not stockpiling, preparing, well, I really don't want us to become a statistic either. Okay, in the comments below, I want your input on this as well because we actually have very tumultuous, troubled times ahead and we need to be prepared. Thanks for watching.